What if I told you that one of the most crucial players for a top Premier League team is currently battling a mysterious injury? Jurrien Timber's situation with Arsenal isn't just another sports headline, it's a fascinating case study in how modern footballers juggle recovery, performance, and the relentless pressure of being a star. Let me break this down for you. Here's a guy who was instrumental in Arsenal's title win last season, playing 30 games as their first-choice right-back. But now, he's back in London, supposedly on a rehab schedule, yet the whispers of doubt are already creeping in. Why does this matter? Because Timber isn't just any player, he's the kind of defender who can change games with his pace, composure, and ability to switch play. And yet, here we are, talking about a groin injury that's already disrupted his World Cup run and now potentially his pre-season prep. What makes this really interesting is how quickly injuries can unravel even the most carefully planned seasons. You think a club like Arsenal, with all their resources, can't handle this? Well, maybe they can, but the reality is, human bodies aren't machines. A detail I find fascinating is that Timber's injury timeline mirrors a broader trend in football. Players are getting injured more frequently, not just because they're playing more games, but because the physical demands of modern soccer are reaching absurd levels. You ever notice how defenders like him have to be both a brick wall and a winger? It's exhausting. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. Timber's ACL tear in his first season at Arsenal wasn't just a setback, it was a wake-up call for the club. They paid £34 million for him, and yet he missed most of his debut campaign. That's a risk any fan would take, but it raises a deeper question. Are top clubs overpaying for players who are still figuring out their bodies in a league that's faster and more physical than ever? And here's the kicker, even after all that, Timber's back to square one with another injury. This isn't just about him, it's about how teams manage player workload, how medical staffs are under constant pressure, and how fans are forced to watch their heroes struggle with injuries that feel almost inevitable. If you take a step back and think about it, the fact that Timber's return to London is framed as part of his rehab schedule rather than a setback tells us something. Clubs want to control the narrative, but the truth is, injuries are messy. They're unpredictable, and they don't care about your transfer fee or your title ambitions. What this really suggests is that even the best-laid plans can crumble under the weight of a single groin strain. And yet, Arsenal still has to face Manchester City in the Community Shield and kick off their title defence against Coventry. How do they manage without their key player? Well, that's the real test. Because while Timber's rehab is ongoing, the clock is ticking. The pressure isn't just on the medical team, it's on the entire squad to adapt, to improvise, and to prove that resilience isn't just a buzzword. So here's my take. This isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a chapter that'll test Arsenal's depth, their coaching staff's ingenuity, and maybe even Timber's long-term future at the club. But what's clear is that football, for all its glamour, is still a brutal sport. And sometimes, the biggest challenges aren't on the pitch, they're in the body of the players who make it all happen.